All right, man, peace. So now, as we all know, LeBron James alleged that his home was spray painted with the N-word outside his front gate. Story was covered by the mainstream news. Right now, this is a follow-up segment. So on this television show, they're going to talk about the incident with LeBron James, and they're going to use it as a springboard to compare him to Muhammad Ali. Of course, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
Previously on Speak for Yourself, racism is an issue in America. It's a real issue, and it has real negative impact, particularly on poor people. LeBron James just experienced some disrespect. This is not the racism that needs to be stamped out in America. This is an inconvenience for LeBron.
To me, it would have been easy for LeBron to pass on it. If we want stars to be stars and we want him to talk on social issues, it affected him directly. Should he not talk about it?
Pointing out obstacles and facts is not embracing.
There's no obstacle here.
That's an obstacle. It's an obstacle white people in America don't have to deal with.
I tell you, man, Chris Broussard is mad as hell. It'd be funny as hell if both his parents were Caucasian and he was adopted.
If someone denies you an opportunity, that is the impact of racism. Yeah, for him to sit here and say, no matter where you are, it's tough being black. It ain't tough being LeBron James.
Chris Broussard's so delusional. I'm waiting for him to say, and it's tough as hell for me because I'm dark-skinned. It's tough for dark-skinned niggas like me.
All right, welcome back to the show. Back with us, Cedric Ceballos. And joining us now is the former Super Bowl champion, Eric Davis.
Damn, I guess Chris X, aka Chris Broussard, I guess he spazzed out so bad. He got so emotional the last time. They said, you know what, let's keep his ass off to the side. Let's replace him with Eric Davis.
Let's talk some more LeBron James.
Chris Broussard off someone with some kente cloth on.
LeBron has received a lot of compliments in his career, but he just got arguably his biggest one from the ex-wife of Muhammad Ali, speaking to our very own TMZ Sports.
He's like the Muhammad Ali of basketball, and I thought he was so intelligent the way he handled himself because of the situation, and made a point to let people know this does exist, and it will be here for a very long time.
You know, Khalila Ali, and I mentioned her in the Layla Ali post that I did. This woman is so disingenuous. Khalila Ali, for those who don't know, was Ali's second wife. That's not Layla Ali's mother. Layla Ali's mother is Veronica Porsche. Khalila Ali is the woman that Ali married in 1967, I believe it was. He had about 4 or 5 children with her. He married her very young. I think that they met when she was like 17. Ali was 25. And she was with him when he was going through the exile. And she also was a closet feminist, even though she was raised in the Nation of Islam, the Nation of Islam ideology. She was a closet feminist. And she tried to take a lot of credit for the things that Ali said to the media about race. She is on record as stating that she supposedly wrote many of his speeches while he was on college tours. But eventually she left him. I covered this already. She left him in 1975 after he was on television while he was in Manila preparing to fight Joe Frazier. He was on television and he met the president of the Philippines at the time. I believe it was Ferdinand Marcos. And he introduced Veronica Porsche as his wife. And Khalila Ali took it as a major disrespect. She flew out there to the Philippines. Allegedly, they had a big fight. And that was that. You know, she subsequently divorced him, took her chunk of money. She didn't get that much money, but she left him. And the reason why she didn't get that much money was because she wasn't looking to get that much money, because she thought that her homegirl, Jane Fonda, was going to hook her up with Hollywood roles. She was so delusional and so into the feminism kick that she didn't try to rake Ali over the coals in the court system. But anyway, as we all know, we knew that she was going to. Anybody with common sense knows that, in the mid-'70s, so-called black woman was not going to be a celebrity in Hollywood. For some reason, she thought that she was, or that she was going to be. Jane Fonda hooked her up with one role. After that, she was done. Khalila Ali, she was heavily into photography. She was trying to get into Hollywood. She was also trying to be a photographer. Neither one worked out. She went on and I believe she married some guy after she knew him for like 3 days. I mean, the woman was bugged out of her mind. And she recently came out when Colin Kaepernick made his stand, his quote unquote stand, and she said that she totally disagreed with Kaepernick and that he should be thankful to be in America. She was pretty much lambasted for that. So now she's coming out in support of LeBron. Why? Because TMZ is interviewing her as this segment, as Jason Whitlock stated, and Colin Cowherd has stated. Now she's on TMZ supporting LeBron James. Why is that? Because TMZ obviously is paying her to provide some type of input, and she knows what people want to hear. She wants to hear that. She knows that people want to hear, oh, the liberal black athlete, he's taking a stand against racism spiel. She's completely disingenuous. But you know what? She fits in to this storyline because this whole storyline, in my view, is disingenuous. And I believe that LeBron James is being disingenuous. I believe that this whole thing is a hoax, right? A very, very carefully crafted hoax. All right. To propel his social standing and improve his brand. Right. Just my opinion. But, and like I said before, I hope that I'm wrong. I hope that his house was vandalized. All right. Because to me, that's better than the alternative.
And these kind of issues should be answered. I think Ali would be very supportive of him because Ali has went through the same thing in the past.
She's totally bullshitting right now. She knows that Ali never went through anything like what LeBron James is going through because Ali went through something that was serious. LeBron James is going through something that's totally contrived. All right. So she's just talking. She's trying to say what she thinks the people want to hear so that she can keep getting her check from TMZ.
He would really look up to LeBron James, especially the way he carried himself.
Listen, we got into this last week. The conversation continued on all throughout the weekend. I don't think the analogy to Muhammad Ali is in any way appropriate. And I'm someone that a few years ago thought LeBron was headed down the Ali path.
I agree. I don't believe it's appropriate either. And I don't believe that Khalila Ali believes that it's appropriate, but I believe that she's out to get, some money. That's what she's been trying to do for a long time, is get money. Right? At the end of the day, what she should have done was just stay with Ali and be one of his wives. But, that pride was something else. Like I said, I believe that she ended up being a porter in a hotel until recently. But, it is what it is.
I think he's pivoted and moved. Muhammad Ali never, ever, ever courted popularity. Never. And as long as you court popularity,
I wouldn't say that he never courted popularity. I believe that he had a paradigm shift after Elijah Muhammad died, and the Nation of Islam had a schism between the son of Elijah Muhammad. I believe his name was Wallace Muhammad, or Warith Dean Muhammad, if I remember correctly. If not, one of you brothers can correct me. I believe it was between him and who else was it? And Farrakhan, I believe it was. I believe that Warith Dean Muhammad took it to a more conventional, quote unquote, Sunni Islam route. And then Farrakhan popped up to try to reinvigorate the Nation of Islam spirit. And Ali chose to follow Warith Dean Muhammad because I believe that Ali wanted to be, after a while in the early to mid 70s, I think that Ali got tired of kicking against that brick wall known as the so-called white power structure. I believe he got tired of fighting against it. I believe that the love of the masses wore him down. And I believe that he just, for his own survival, after Elijah Muhammad passed, he said, let me just go along and get along. All right. I don't believe that he sold out per se. I just believe that he said, you know what? Self-preservation is the law of the land. All right. That's just what I believe why he went along with that route. And it's very unfortunate because if you look at Ali's children, especially his daughters, he has like 2 daughters that married Caucasian men. He has that other daughter, Layla Ali, who just runs around bragging about how she rebelled against him. His son ended up just being destitute, living in low-income housing in Chicago with his family. Very, very, very unfortunate what happened to the Ali family. And a lot of it was because Ali was a very poor businessman. People like to get on Floyd Mayweather. Why is that? Because Mayweather thinks at a very, very high level business-wise. Ali did not. Right? But that goes back to what I stated about MC Hammer and Michael Jordan. See, people don't like it when so-called black men think economically. Right? They act like they want you to think on a magnanimous level, but then when you give away all your money and all your time and you end up low and destitute, nobody comes to help you. That's just the condition of the battle. But let's get back to what Whitlock's talking about here.
You're never, ever really a truly revolutionary figure, in my opinion. The revolutionaries, the people that really make an impact, don't court popularity.
And I agree that, Ali, the stances that he took were not based in what was popular. And I give him a lot of credit because, like I said before, he joined a movement that was based in trying to establish a culture. Like I stated already in previous videos, LeBron James is a corporate whore. Right? He sits around talking about how hard it is to be a so-called black man. Dude, you have $1 billion Nike contract. You know who it's hard to be? It's hard to be one of those Asians working in a sweatshop to make the products with your name on it. Right? It will be interesting to see Asians come out and pick at LeBron and say, you think it's hard to be a black man? What about my uncle Ching Mang Lu, who's over there making your sneakers for 5 cents a day? What do you got to say about that, LeBron? I bet you that man will walk his ass to the podium to avoid those type of questions.
LeBron James spoke out against name calling. That's something every parent does at some point in their life. Every teacher does at some point in their life. There is true racism in this country. It mostly impacts the poor. I wish LeBron had spent his time talking about that. I don't see the comparison to Ali.
Athletes, first of all, Ali, just because somebody doesn't compare to Ali, it's not a criticism of that person.
Right.
Ali's the most unique athlete of my life.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Ali is he's the most unique athlete I've ever seen in my life. I've never seen anybody with all those combination of attributes, the personality and the charm and the athleticism. That unbelievable.
Yeah. My dad wasn't a sports fan. We talked about Ali Frazier. Let me defend athletes today. They're all paralyzed by their brand. That's because they can lose tens of millions of dollars. When I grew up, you probably had agents, but most players in the 50s, 60s may have had an attorney. Agents, brand agents, the
Big corporate ties.
Yeah, but again, let me defend athletes. Muhammad Ali didn't have $100 million at stake.
I agree with that, and I've stated that in the past. Right? I've seen people try to use Ali as a measuring stick to try to justify demeaning or denigrating Floyd Mayweather. Right? Those are two guys who grew up in two different environments, in two different time periods. You must evaluate people by the time period that they were raised in. Right? Muhammad Ali was raised in the backdrop of Emmett Till, of the bus boycotts, of the civil rights movement. All right? He was a product of his time period and of his environment. Floyd Mayweather was raised in the crack epidemic. All right? Two totally different things. People have no idea how much the so-called crack epidemic, which was a CIA-sponsored psychological operation and a method to basically launder the drug money for the drugs that they were importing into America. People have no idea how much that affected the psyche of the so-called black male and female. All right. You cannot compare a Floyd Mayweather and the environment that he was raised in to a Muhammad Ali and the environment that he was raised in. Right. As Cassius Clay, he was raised in a household with two parents. All right. Back then, even the bad households had two parents. For the most part. Like I said, prior to the so-called civil rights movement, the so-called black man and woman had the highest rate of marriage and the lowest rate of incarceration. All right. These are facts. So, you have to understand the backdrop behind what makes a man who he is and what he is. If Ali was being raised today, he'd be a totally different person. A totally different person.
Not saying he didn't have money, wasn't popular, but today's athlete, the world's changed. They're global stars. Sneaker deals, commercials, movies, production companies. So, listen, Muhammad's an all-timer. He did live in a different time. And I don't think athletes today lack courage. I think they have many handlers, and sometimes it can be tougher. The blowback is tougher for athletes
Different demands.
who go into social areas.
I agree with that. I don't believe that athletes today necessarily lack courage. I just think that they lack insight. I think that most people are not properly informed. I think that to the point where most people don't really know what to believe. They've been indoctrinated with so much propaganda. After a while, it's that they don't know what to believe. You know, it's like the great line in the film Enter the Dragon, where the Shaolin monk, he tells Bruce Lee, you know, the enemy has only images. When you destroy the image, you'll break the enemy. Right? Then after that, Bruce Lee, what does he do? He breaks all the mirrors, because the mirrors are causing confusion and stopping him from seeing who the enemy is. Right? That's the conundrum that the so-called black man is in. There's so much disinformation and misinformation out here. It's very difficult to decipher what's real from what's fiction.
I think most people think that they're comparing the sacrifices with LeBron and Muhammad Ali, and they're so far apart. It's ridiculous because of the era that they both played in, and also what Muhammad Ali gave up for his rights to do what he wanted to do. I think in this situation, what she was saying is he's the only one at his level that's really speaking out. If we go back to the ones that are on his level, Magic, Jordan, maybe even Kareem. Kareem was in that mix with Jim Brown and also Muhammad Ali. They never really spoke out.
And I'm happy you said that, because I mentioned that already. I mentioned that before. You know, people always like to talk about Jordan, but nobody was speaking out back then. Nobody. I don't give a damn who they were. All right. There was no so-called black athletes speaking out, quote unquote, speaking out in the 80s and 90s. None of them. All right. Every once in a while, Barkley would say some, you know, kind of inflammatory race-wise in the early 90s, but there wasn't anybody. Barry Bonds, every once in a while, he'd get mad at some reporters and he'd say some shit. But I mean, there was nobody talking or trying to even act, quote unquote, socially conscious in that era. That just wasn't the era for that.
They had HIV and AIDS. They had the Million Man March. They had crack. They had the 3-time strike. They also had the OJ trial when they were superstars, and they never said anything about those things. When LeBron, right now, the police brutality, he also had the N-word on his house, and
allegedly.
And also he has the black president, first black president, and he came out and spoke. That's what she's saying. He's the only one that really comes out.
She's not saying shit. She's looking for a check. That chick Khalila Ali, that broad is something else. She's nothing but a paid actress. Believe me, her real, you know, she'll say whatever you pay her to say.
Got the other 3 guys, Carmelo, Dwayne Wade, and also Chris Paul, to come out and speak at the ESPY Awards too. So this is something that she said. She's saying he's coming out. Obviously, the level of sacrifice is totally different.
It's a completely different time, and you can't compare goals. We had this conversation ago when they talk about sports, and right now you say the level that he's at and what it is he's saying. So I'm okay with the comparison. You're not, but you said you get on Colin Kaepernick because you're saying he has nothing to lose. It coming out, you know, that we've had those conversations, and a lot of people say, you know, he's the backup. He was the guy who wasn't doing anything, so he took his stance for his beliefs and was like, well, he didn't really have anything to lose. So this is a guy that is at the top of his game.
LeBron doesn't have anything to lose either, dude. He has nothing to lose making the statements that he's making, which most of them, once again, in my view, were pre-written. Right? He has a homosexual NBA commissioner, allegedly, right, who's super, super liberal, right? Pardon me, I shouldn't say homosexual, pansexual. Pansexual, meaning he'll have sex with any damn thing, allegedly, commissioner. Nike is in a corporate war against Donald Trump. So they've orchestrated this equality campaign to try to create this faction of black athlete against Donald Trump, of which LeBron James is being hoarded out. Why is that? Because Donald Trump wants to close a lot of the foreign sweatshops that Nike uses to make their products, right? That's the real genesis and the real impetus behind a lot of LeBron's political, quote unquote, political activism, co-signing Hillary Clinton, right? That's why I said, man, there's levels to all this stuff, man. People get on TV and they give you these rah-rah speeches and get people to fall for it. You know, LeBron James is a businessman. Right? He does what his handlers tell him to do.
He's at the top of the sport. He's transcended his sport, and he's saying some things. The times are different. The things that Ali went through, the way things were. This guy was born in '84. Okay, the world he's a '90s baby. It was a completely different world, and the issues that they are dealing with are completely different than the issues that Ali dealt with. But what he is seeing and what he is dealing with, he is trying to speak out on. And I applaud him for it.
Both LeBron and Ali have taken leadership roles in social issues.
Well, you know, Ali, to his credit, never really took a leadership role. He was the first one to tell you that he wasn't a leader, right? He would always tell you that Elijah Muhammad was his leader, right? That's what he would do. What Ali was a phenomenal speaker, very charismatic. He was good at reciting speeches that he'd heard other Muslim ministers make and adding his own little twist on it. All right, that's what he was able to do. But he would always forward you to the Nation of Islam. He wasn't somebody who was I see what the liberal media has done is they've tried to recraft and recreate Muhammad Ali as this liberal freedom fighter from the 60s. What Ali actually was a separatist. He was a member of a movement that believed in separatism based on race. He stated that the so-called white man and woman were the devil, and that blacks should separate and have their own land and their own property, worshiping Allah with Elijah Muhammad as the mediator. Right? They called Elijah Muhammad the Lamb of God. Basically, they call him Christ. Right? He was a cult of personality. And that's what they adhere to. All right. So that's what Ali really was about. That's why you will very rarely ever, in the midst of all the Ali veneration, you'll very rarely ever hear what he did in the 60s linked to his affiliation with the Nation of Islam, because the so-called white man, particularly the so-called white Jew liberal media, wants to write that out of history. Why is that? Because Ali is worth so much in movies and propaganda that they put out to the people. They don't want people to understand that everything that he said was based in a foundation of being a member of a separatist group. All right. So now he's become a globalist icon. They kind of want to wipe out that part of his history, even though it's essential because that's what makes him relevant in the first place.
To your point, the social issues there was more strife. Ali's life, Ali was getting death threats.
All right. He got more than death threats. There was an assassination attempt made on his life. A lot of people don't know this. In 1970, when he was training to fight Jerry Quarry, he was down in Atlanta. He was training out in the woods. Ali liked to train out in the woods because he liked to chop trees and he liked to run. He liked to run through the woods with his heavy boots on, combat boots on. He came back from his run. He was in his cabin, and a bullet came right through the cabin.
LeBron, I mean, celebrities probably all get them.
Yep.
But I think that the issues were more serious. They felt more urgent in many instances.
A series of bullets, actually. I believe that they actually had it as a scene. I read it in a book, a biography about his life many years ago when I was when I was younger. But they actually dramatized it in the Ali movie, if I remember correctly. Not the Will Smith one, but the one that he did in '77.
The instances with Ali.
And even the things that you say where the way you have to affect you talk about the impoverished, you talk about the undereducated. Well, LeBron is trying to reach those areas. I mean, he's spending money to put people in school.
And that's what LeBron deserves the most credit for, is what he's done in that area. All the race talk and all that other silly shit, like he's not equipped to do that. All right. But what he's doing in regards to helping a lot of younger so-called black children go to college, that's phenomenal. All right. That's phenomenal. Even though that's a tax write-off, if he has great business people, everybody knows that's a tax write-off. But the sentiment is what is phenomenal.
He's trying to help those aspects of things, so you got to give him credit for it.
So my complaint is I think this incident here is a pivot from the things LeBron truly has focused on. And it's not about seeing yourself as a victim. It's about what the opportunities are in front of you and how you can take advantage of them. One of the great points I think you just made, Colin, that I've been trying to make for a number of years is like, things are completely different now than when Ali was here. If Ali were in his prime now and had Nike and other corporations all attached to his brand and was getting $500 million funneled to him by these major corporations. Ali would be operating exactly like LeBron James is now.
It's possible. It's highly possible, highly probable, because more likely than not, Ali would have been raised in a single mother household. All right, he wouldn't have been raised in a two-parent household. He probably would have been raised in a broken home, raised by the television. He probably would not even be a boxer today. He probably would be trying to be a wide receiver in the NFL or a point guard in the NBA. All right, his life would be totally different if he had been born in 1985 instead of 1942. All right, but that's all hypothetical.
Now, I think that's fair, and I think that's a point you touched on. You touched on. I think it's legitimate. And so I think our expectations for athletes need to change. There will never be another Ali that operated the way Ali did because the circumstances and the situation have changed.
Yeah.
And my overall point to black people, we should quit acting like it's the 1960s and that our victimhood, because in the 60s our rights were denied. We couldn't vote. We couldn't eat here. We couldn't go to school here. And so playing up that victimhood and say was the right thing to do.
No, the victimhood wasn't the right thing to do back then either. All right. The aspect of victimhood was really pushed on the so-called black man and black woman by the socialist movement. All right. Those are the people who pawned out these so-called blacks back then. All right. And that's not to demean or diminish the hardships that our people went through in that era, because they were very real. But at the same time, that's where the socialists and the communists, who were agents of the international bankers, came in to capitalize. Kind of like a young girl who's run away from home and out on the street. She's going through hardship. Who's the first person to come and act like they're going to, quote unquote, help her out? It's a pimp. Right? That's what happens when you're out on the street. Right? You fall prey to the elements of the street. So-called, our people are here in this wilderness. So you out in the wild, wild animals are going to come at you. It is what it is.
Now, those guys fought that war.
Because you won, but because you've won some of those battles, that doesn't mean that you can't continue. You move beyond that, and you continue. And it's a different battle, and you got to have the same energy in it.
And the battle.
Yeah, well, what's the battle now, little bro? The battle is what? So-called equality? Come on, man. The battle right now is for the so-called black man and black woman to arrive at their culture, right? And understanding of this money system, this economic system, right? That's really what the battle is. And to a greater understanding of their history, so that they're not so interdependent on the fate of the so-called white man. You're going to find as this society falls that so-called Caucasians are going to become more and more friendly. Why is that? Because when the ship is sinking, it's all hands on deck. We need everybody's help.
Battle to me is, how do you execute? How do you take advantage of the opportunities that are in front of us right now? That's what I see LeBron doing in Akron with the stuff he's doing. And that's the message I wish other athletes would embrace and not. Again, when I go back to the gate, the police never saw the N-word. It was.
Ain't that a bitch?
It was removed before they ever got there at 6 a.m. in the morning. Before they got there, it was already removed.
Yeah, I bet it was.
They got a picture of it.
They got a picture of it. So somebody went and took a picture of it. So you mean to tell me that there was no surveillance on LeBron James' front gate, the most famous American athlete? There's no surveillance on his front gate for them to see who did it? They have a still photo. That's what they're going on?
We don't need to waste energy on that. Focus on the opportunities. How do we take advantage of the rights that were won for us by the people, the generation that came before us? Again, mostly, I still like LeBron. I think people get that twisted. I just disagree with him here.
I like LeBron too. But you know how these people are. They're emotional. As soon as you say something that's even remotely critical of their favorite athlete, they get emotional. It's like these dudes that's addressing me over Kobe Bryant. Like, Kobe Bryant got the most emotional fans of any athlete, maybe along with Allen Iverson. Like, god damn, calm the fuck down. No, Kobe is not a top 10 all-time NBA player. I don't give a damn if y'all get mad about that. But back to LeBron. I truly, like I said before, I truly hope that I'm wrong, but I don't believe it. I believe that it was a hoax. And the comparisons to Ali, that sounds like something that Nike would try to push. Like I said, it's beneficial for both them and him to cast him in that light. Right? But he's not really built for that light because he's not built for the rejection. Ali was built for the rejection. Like his strength of character was unbelievable, because you must understand, not only did the majority of Caucasians came against him, but the liberal blacks of his day came against him. All right, the Jackie Robinsons and the Joe Lewises and a lot of the boule athletes of that previous time period, they came against him. Right, the Jim Browns, those guys were boule athletes. All right, believe it or not. But anyway, I'll probably go into that another time. And, the whole Kareem Abdul-Jabbar thing. Kareem gets a lot of credit for being a so-called revolutionary. Kareem was not a revolutionary. He's a guy who sat back. When I say sat back, I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I mean that in a contemplative way. He was more of a thinker, a cerebral dude. He wasn't somebody who was going to be out on the front lines, rabble-rousing and giving firebrand speeches. Right? He was a guy who really just wanted to find out what the truth was. Kareem has written a lot of very informative books. He wrote a book on the 761st Tank Battalion. But, he gets a lot of credit for being a revolutionary, and he really wasn't. What I don't like is that he's tried to accept that reputation when that's really not him. All right? Him and Jim Brown have taken that whole Ali Summit thing and they've ran with it. And all that was a meeting that was orchestrated by Bob Arum, where they were paid to be there to try to stop Ali from coming against the Vietnam War and try to get him to accept the terms of the U.S. government, and it failed. All right, that's all that was. But again, it has nothing in common with LeBron James. All right, peace.